Balancing justice. From legal logic to universal principles question. I'm a law student studying in New York, and I've been questioning the nature of law. Through internships over the past few years, I've seen how the law can be applied in many ways. It seems like there isn't just one correct answer. What may be right for one person may cause harm to another. In such situations, how should I think about balance? One example I witnessed in court was of a former gang member who committed murder but was reformed after many years in prison. While society seemed ready to accept him back, the victim's family and others believed he should remain in prison. In the face of such conflicting views, what kind of mindset should I adopt as someone pursuing a legal career? Answer: our young people today encounter situations like this frequently. Why? In the past, we just followed the systems that society laid out for us. But now, we're being asked to find the answers ourselves, and those answers aren't always clear. We're in a liberal democratic system governed by the rule of law. The problem is, we've stopped deeply researching and reflecting on the law. Instead, we rely on previously established interpretations and precedents, applying them without digging deeper. As a result, we fail to hand down evolved insights to future generations. This leads to outcomes that appear logical but don't always feel just. Logic, after all, can lead to multiple answers, and picking only one or two often results in dissatisfaction. Logic alone can't satisfy everyone. So what's the alternative to logic? We need to uncover answers rooted in principle, universal principles. Let's go deeper with your example. Lawyers are meant to be profound thinkers. Take a murder case. Who suffers the most? The victim's family, of course. The murderer might feel regret, but not on the same level. Yet our current legal logic punishes the murderer alone. If we go deeper, though, we have to ask, why did someone in this household become a victim? There may have been something fundamentally wrong or imbalanced that led to the incident. If not, such things wouldn't naturally happen. This is the law of nature. Let's take a lighter example to unpack this. Suppose I was scammed. Who suffers more? The victim does. The scammer, on the other hand, might be off enjoying their gains, traveling and spending money. Why? Because they feel they succeeded. Does this mean they lived rightly? No, but neither did the victim. Both have responsibility. If we try to assign responsibility, I would say the victim is 70% at fault, and the scammer is 30% at fault. That may sound counterintuitive, but the principle here is that the victim must have lived in a way that left them vulnerable. There was something they failed to do. And society also holds responsibility for not creating an environment that prevents such wrongdoing. When we apply punishment, we must consider this 4:3 ratio, 40% personal fault, 30% counterpart's fault, and 30% societal fault. This is a principle that applies to all human experiences, including crime, illness, and accidents. But today's legal system fails to reflect this. It often places all the blame on one side and excludes society's role entirely. For example, we send someone to prison, supposedly to reform them. But if prisons lack proper educational or rehabilitation programs, then we're not truly reforming anyone, we're just locking them away. When they return to society, they're unprepared, so they re-offend. Society has not provided the systems needed for true transformation. Community service orders, originally from Western countries, were introduced in Korea as a way to encourage rehabilitation. But we failed to examine them deeply. Community service should be an opportunity for reflection and growth, but even that has become a form of punishment. Volunteers may say they're doing good, but often it's guilt or social pressure that drives them. We must ask, is this genuine reform or just surface-level correction? Religious spaces like churches and temples encourage volunteering too, but that, too, can be a way to reflect on our own shortcomings and observe the suffering of others as a form of education. The idea is not to pity others but to study why certain people end up in such conditions, and to change ourselves through that understanding. You see, today's legal professionals often perform duties without deep study. If lawyers and judges merely carry out what's written without reflecting or innovating, then they're failing to evolve society. So when someone says, "Why did I get into an accident or become a victim?" The answer lies in accumulated imbalance. If you live selfishly, harming others without realizing, the effects build up. When it reaches a tipping point, misfortune strikes. That's natural law. Even in murder cases, if someone dies in the family, it reflects something deeper within the family or the victim's environment. If the death came without warning, it often signals unexamined issues within the household. And unless the family studies this and changes, another tragedy may occur. The natural world sends us warnings, we just haven't learned to read them. So your confusion is understandable. You're walking into a field where much has been left undone. Previous generations didn't fully develop these ideas, so the responsibility now falls on you. But that also means it's your opportunity. We intellectuals are researchers of society. If the system is flawed, we shouldn't complain, we must fix it. That is our duty. If we do the research and develop a new framework, a new legal theory that society accepts and embraces, we become heroes. This is an era hungry for heroes. And it's the best time to become one. Right now, people with knowledge are all doing the same thing, no one is standing out. But if you introduce a new paradigm that truly helps others, society will recognize you. That is the birth of a real hero, not someone simply famous, but someone whose legacy will endure for centuries. So go forward and create that new legal paradigm. Your question shows you're seeing things clearly. Keep studying, keep questioning, and above all, keep creating. Question summary. A law student from New York asks, through my legal studies and internships, I've realized that the law doesn't always have one clear answer. For example, a former gang member who committed murder may be reformed and ready to rejoin society, but the victim's family still demands punishment. In such conflicting situations, how should I think as a future legal professional? Book's main points of the lecture. Law based only on logic is not enough, but logic can lead to multiple answers and cannot satisfy everyone. We must shift from logic to principle. One such principle is the 4-3-3 rule. What is the 4-3-3 rule? Every issue in society involves three responsible parties, each with a share of responsibility. Example, if someone is scammed, they are not 100% innocent. The scammer is wrong, but the victim also failed to protect themselves. And society may not have provided enough education or safeguards. Lock problems in today's legal system. Without proper programs, released inmates re-offend. Community service is often used as a punishment, not a meaningful path to reform. Brain lawyers should be researchers of society. We need a new legal paradigm based on principle and fairness, not just cold logic. Seedling message to young law students: now it's your turn to pick up where they left off. Instead of complaining, become a builder of better systems. If you create a new, fair, principle-based legal model that society accepts, you can become a real hero of this generation. I wrote the story based on the above article title, The 4-3-3 Principle, late afternoon in a quiet Manhattan cafe. Yuri stared out the window, sipping her coffee as the city moved briskly outside. A third-year law student, she had memorized countless cases and statutes, yet her mind was more tangled than ever. The trial she'd witnessed during her internship a few days ago still echoed in her thoughts. A man, once a gang member, had committed murder 2 decades ago. After years in prison, he had studied philosophy and literature, completed rehabilitation programs, and shown signs of deep change. His lawyer spoke passionately about his reformation. But the victim's mother cried out with raw pain, "My son will never come back. That man should never walk free." Legally, parole was an option. Morally, was it right? That evening, Yuri asked one of her professors, "Professor, does the law always guarantee what's right?" He fell silent. A few days later, Yuri stumbled upon a YouTube lecture by a Korean philosopher. His words struck her deeply. Every event in life follows the principle of 4-3-3. 40% of the responsibility lies with the victim's own life choices, 30% with the offender's wrongdoing, and 30% with society and the environment that allowed it to happen. At first, Yuri resisted. How could the victim be responsible? But something made her pause. This wasn't about blaming the victim, it was about understanding the whole picture. Determined to dig deeper, Yuri sought out John, a social worker she had met earlier. He worked with former inmates trying to rejoin society. "John, do you really believe people can change?" He smiled. "Of course. But even if they do, that doesn't mean society is ready to accept them. Our job is to see if the change is genuine, and if the system is ready for that change." "What about the victim's family? Their pain?" John paused before replying. "They're victims of the system too. Who helped them heal? Who gave them space to grieve properly? Society isolates both victims and offenders. Have you heard of the 4-3-3 theory?" Yuri's eyes widened. "You know it. I read it in a paper by a Korean scholar. It's not just numbers, it's a new way to understand justice. Real justice means holding everyone accountable: the individual, the other party, and the society around them." That night, Yuri opened her laptop and began to write. Her essay was titled, "Justice Beyond Guilt: Reimagining Law Through the 4-3-3 Principle." For the first time, her future felt clear. She didn't want to become just another lawyer quoting precedents. She wanted to be someone who could uncover the hidden balance of life, and translate that balance into the language of law. Law wasn't just about winners and losers. It was about asking, how can we all move forward, together? A few months later, at her graduation ceremony, Yuri was awarded Best Thesis of the Year. Her paper sparked conversations in journals and among legal scholars. Someone asked her, "How did you come up with such a perspective?" She smiled softly. "The night I had the question, I found the answer not in textbooks, but in universal principles. Not in laws alone, but in the truths of life itself." The end.